Hello everyone and welcome to another Q's Views video. Now today we're going to continue with our monster book series, and we are moving into the third edition Dungeons and Dragons Monster Manual. Now this is not the 3.5 edition. There was one. I don't have that. I just have this one. So that's mostly what I'll be going through is the third edition stuff. I think I have one 3.5 edition book. Don't quote me on that. I'm just trying to go off of memory what I have in my book collection. But I will be going through the third edition books, the ones that I have anyways. I don't have them all in this next in these next episodes of the Dungeon Book series, or the Monster Book series, I should say. And I'm not going to edit that out because, well, how much fun would that be? Anyways, let's go ahead and get started. We have the Monster Manual, Core Rule Book 3. Now, if I remember right, just in terms of the monster books, I think there are 4 or 5 different monster manuals. I think I have the first 2 or 3, plus some other peripheral monster books, which we will get into. But I don't remember exactly how many there are for sure. I think there are 5. Someone can correct me in the comment section down below or help educate me on that. I would appreciate it. Because for the ones I don't have, I would definitely like to hunt them down and complete the monster book series. So here we have our introduction and reading the entries and basically how to use this book, which continues on for quite a few pages. Secondary statistics block, all your different statistics, all of that. Creature advancement by type. And now we actually get into the creatures. And as we can see, the artwork has developed quite a bit, even from the second edition book that we went over last time. Lots of very cool and very interesting creatures. I will admit there are a lot of creatures in this book that I have used, but there are also many that I have not. I always thought the Azer was pretty cool. And of course, basilisks are always cool. Barghists. I think all these monsters are pretty cool, and I have used these monsters, but I do like the advancement in the illustrations from book to book that we've been seeing. I think it's pretty cool. Of course, beholders are always good to use. So many wonderful creatures. I mean, it really does just kind of go on and on and on. Bullets, carrion crawlers, astral divas, planetars, solars. Crazy stuff. Centaurs, chimeras. Look at all these very classical beasts being so well represented by such great artwork. I love it. And I'm not going to spend too much time on each one, but I will definitely stop to discuss some of the ones I primarily used along the way. The Tanari. Here we have the Dretch, the demon from the demon world. That's just a crazy looking creature. In real life, I would not want to face something like that. I've never used this Destrakan. I think if that's the right way to pronounce it. Someone could correct me. But it does look like an interesting creature, and I have read on it. Got some really interesting, not just offenses, but defenses. Like, for example, protection from psionics. I know a lot of us wished we'd had that from time to time. A more detailed page on devils, which I think is pretty cool. And of course, we have some dinosaurs in the mix. dire animals. Very interesting depiction of the displacer beast, in my opinion. And of course, here we have dragons. Oh, how wonderful dragons are. I like too how they're giving you a scale here, where they're putting just basically a normal sized human next to the black dragon here. Give you some idea of their size. Yeah, I think this was a really good idea that they did for the dragons here. Dragons can definitely be terrifying beasts and a real challenge for parties to take down. I mean, even a wormling dragon for an unprepared party can be quite an amount of mayhem. Just so many great dragons and dragon type creatures in this book. Of course, in all the books, but I really like the depictions in this book very much. Just some fantastic entries, creatures. Here we have elementals. I've always been a fan of elementals. Just helps you take a certain environment or a certain type of terrain and really give it some life. Really bringing in not just, arboreal type creatures, but also those who are literally part of the elements that help make up the world that you're traversing in. Ettins are always a classic creature. I have used those quite a few times in various campaigns. Foremen are also cool. I have used those a time or two. Gargoyles are always fun to use. Of course, the classic genie. Especially the Ifritis. I like using the Ifritis. The elemental plane of fire has always been one that I've really enjoyed pulling from, especially in terms of the Ifritis, or as I like to call them, the Ifrits. Of course, we move into giants. Giants are always fun to use. And of course, we have our various giant types: hill, stone, frost, fire, cloud. And of course, the all-powerful storm giants. Just such amazing artwork in this book. From the gibbering mouther, the gnoll. I really like the depiction of the gnolls here in this book. I really think they did them justice. Creature after creature, page after page, it just stays really good. And I know not everyone was happy with the way monsters were portrayed in these books in terms of their stat blocks and things like that, but hence the 3.5 edition stuff. But for me personally, I don't have a cause to complain. I really enjoyed 3rd edition. I really enjoyed the monsters. I really enjoyed the campaigns. I enjoyed the modules. I really enjoyed how everything was done for the most part. I won't say it was perfect, but I'll say I enjoyed it for the most part. And I really had a lot of fun with it. Creatures such as the Kraken, that's always a good one. The Crenshaw is a crazy beast. It's always fun to use. The Kutoa, those are always great to use. Again, I just was really, really happy to see such tremendous artwork being put into this book, and all of the subsequent books as well. I mean, I really do like the artwork from the original books as well. I mean, I really do. But you can really see, you know, in these books and hereafter, the artwork really move to a new level. It was fantastic to see. I mean, that's still to this very day, one of my favorite illustrations of the Mind Flayer. Of course, just like all monster books, there's going to be some art that's lackluster compared to some of the other ones, or some pictures that just don't seem to do the creature justice. In this particular entry, I don't think the depiction of the Naga here, I think it's a good picture, I think it's a good illustration, I just don't think it fits ideally what I think of when I think of Naga, what I picture in my mind. Some more great creatures. The owlbear, that's always been fun one to use. Face spiders have always been cool to use. Same with plain touched. I really do like using the plain touched. And of course, the rock Sasha is always a classic. Right along with the good old purple worm. Two more classics I just think have to be in a monster book, especially for the first entry if you have several monster books within an edition. So here we have the Roper and the Rust Monster. Of course, the Rock. That's as classic as it gets. And of course, very few monsters are as classic as your skeleton. And I like here how they subdivided the skeleton into various sizes. So we have the tiny skeleton, the tiny undead, large skeleton, large undead, all the way up. You have small, huge, medium, gargantuan, and colossal. So not only you have your various sizes, but you also have your various degrees of difficulty. Like for example here, with the colossal skeleton, colossal undead, we have, you know, 32d12 hit dice for an average of 208 hit points. I mean, that's ridiculous. I mean, any of you who know D&D, you'll know that's death for most parties. That's ruination. So even one of these things can wipe out an entire party pretty quickly if even for a well-established party, this would be a nightmare. And of course, the ever popular scum. Scum. You know, the sloths have always been crazy creatures. The sloth lords, you definitely don't want to, a party definitely doesn't want to run into a sloth, or let alone a group of them, as they can, again, they can destroy parties fairly quickly. And of course, we have the Tarask, the legendary creature that nobody in their right mind would ever really want to encounter. Now, just real quick, for those of you, if I'm turning these pages a bit too quick and there's a monster that you wanted to really look at that I didn't stop on for any length of time, please feel free to pause it and read through it. Now, if you have this book, obviously you can just turn to it and look at it for yourself. But for those of you that I really want to see these monsters and you don't have these books or whatever, and I'm turning too fast, absolutely feel free to pause it and take a look, and maybe you can share your own thoughts on these various creatures that we're discussing today. I'll always be a fan of trolls and umber hulks. I really love using things like winter wolves and wargs. Just great creatures, especially if you run them in packs. Sometimes you want to create adversarial situations for your party where they know they can't win. They know that an encounter would not be wise. So you it's kind of cool for me as a DM to kind of put my parties in situations where they have to make a decision quick. Can we fight this creature and survive? Can we form some type of strategy quickly? Or do we just need to run like hell? So it's always a good fight or flight situation to put your parties in. It really helps keep the tension high and really keeps the party on their toes. Now, I might be saying this incorrectly, but we have the Yurthak. I think that's how that's pronounced. I've got to be honest, I've never used that creature. I've always seen this creature and I'm like, I would like to use that creature, but I've never have. Maybe you can tell me about creatures that you've looked at in the various creature books over the years, over the various editions, and wanted to use, but you didn't for any particular reason. Are there any creatures that stand out in your mind of those you're like, I would like to try to use that creature someday, but you never did get to it? If so, what are those creatures? And do you still plan on trying to use them? Or if you've been like, what, I've been wanting to use these creatures. It's been all these years. I still haven't used them. So I guess I probably will just never mind on that. Here we have just the various creature encounter tables just for various creatures. Just your common creatures. As you can see here, snakes and squids and whales. We passed up a whole bunch of them. You're looking through them, just basically your typical everyday run-of-the-mill naturally encounterable creatures. Here we get some different ones, like your giant ants, giant bees, although I've seen some pretty big bugs in real life. Monstrous centipedes, monstrous scorpions. Those are always fun to use in campaigns. Here we have a really simple black and white art piece, but I really like it. Celestial creatures, fiendish creatures. I like the various entries that they have here for the various appendices and the templates they have for them here in the back of the book. Always good stuff to use and utilize for campaign preparation. Ghosts, celestials, half celestials, just a whole slew of good stuff back here. Sample half celestials, creating half dragons, creating half fiend. Some great entry stuff on the lich, creating a lich, the lich phylactery, lycanthropes. And then here we have our breakdown for our various different lichens. We have the werebear, wereboar, wererat. See, we have the weretiger, the werewolf, of course vampires, and the creation of all these various creatures for a campaign. All great stuff. But there we go. Here we reach the end of the book. We have monsters ranked by challenge ratings, which is always a good thing. I always try to take a campaign based on level and off party makeup. And sometimes that helps me develop or to search out challenge ratings that's appropriate for the party. So here we are at the back of the book. And we'll go ahead and read through this real quickly. Over 500 Fearsome Foes by Skip Williams, Jonathan Tweet, and Monty Cook. From the mundane to the magical, from the meek to the mighty, the Monster Manual brings the monsters of the Dungeons & Dragons game to life with statistics, descriptions, full-color illustrations, and player character information. This book is essential for every dungeon master who wants to keep players on their toes. So there you have it. The first Monster Manual for 3rd edition Dungeons & Dragons. Thanks to everyone who's stood by this video and has stayed watching to the end. And we'll see you in the next video. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. Stay well. We'll see you next time.